I think I'm streaming. Okay, it looks green. Let me double check because I had a connectivity issue. Let's see. I think it's safe to assume I'm live, although I'm not seeing myself here. But let's refresh this app. Yeah, well, okay, that's fine. So I think this is the fourth, in total, the fifth stream of MR.E. It's a development stream where you'll see me develop the game from scratch. And the reason why I'm saying fourth or fifth, because there was a kickoff stream that is like number 0. So this is officially fifth. But in terms of numbering, it's the dev stream number 4. So today's agenda is we'll look at UI stuff, the new design or sort of changes. That's going to be the main part of the stream. Sometimes I get bored or there are challenges to keep things interesting or rolling. I may tackle some of the later items here. Maybe I want to see as a prototype how to trigger events within JSON. You just briefly mention what that is. So sometimes these dialogue fragments, you will trigger this one, let's say. Something in the game should happen in the form of the light flickering or maybe a sound effect playing, something. So since this is a text file, we have to create some kind of naming convention or some kind of structure that in Godot will look if something like that exists, it will actually trigger a function in the game code. So that's what I'm intending to do. And then right now the levels are transitioning kind of too suddenly. Let's just see. Set the game level to 1. Actually 2, maybe 3. Let's see. Let's run the game. So this is of course a test. All these levels are test levels. I haven't designed them according to dialogues or the challenges. But this is the intro text, so when we start, the controls are enabled, and we come, and then we are finishing the level. And we have the outro text. So this is where we are going to read more about the story, so we can move on to the next level. So here, this female voice is saying that there's going to be a terminal in the next room. You should go there. So I'm gonna say, I guess I'll do as she says. So when I click this, it should load level 4. And when we do that, since all these levels are kind of copies of each other, the player is in the starting position in level 4. But that transition was too sudden. Maybe there should be some fade out, at least. Something like that. And of course, while we are doing that, we could maybe do a basic main menu. The reason why I'm suggesting this, or it could be okay to tackle, is because there's already a basic load, save, game logic or mechanic. Right now, this line is for me to test the levels quickly, but normally it should start like this, which means if this function is tied to a main menu button such as like continue, then we should load the game where we left off, which is in my previous run. We were at level 3. So if I run this game right now, we'll start at level 3. And I know that by looking at the conversation here and start, this is where, yeah, this is something about the dialogues. It's missing something here right now. It's fine. But the load thing is actually working. And by this same token, every time a new level starts, we are saving the game. So naturally, if we had a button in the main menu that said continue, that would automatically load the game, and we starting where we left off. So that means the first time you play the game, instead of having a continue button, you should have start game or start, a new game, new session. So these buttons will be either replacing each other, or we will always have a start game, but we may have a continue button next time you launch the game. So something like that, basic main menu. There aren't that many settings going on in this game. Maybe turning off sound effects or the level of, how loud they are, that kind of thing. Maybe later on I'll do that. So for now, the main topic is UI tidbits. So what do I mean by UI? So let's go and hit design file. I will most likely open Figma, but this is kind of how I started here. So some of these ideas eventually evolve to what I'm about to show. I think it's this. Okay. Which then, okay, became this. Should be a very big image here. It's not displaying it. It was a huge file. Maybe it's loading still. Either way, let me just zoom in here, see if it... Oh, okay, actually there is the file, because I see the background image, this nebula. But I masked it, so we get to see the whole kind of its footprint. But we are squeezing it into this playable area, which should be focusable viewport. This one. That's it. That's more like it. So this is what I'm going to try to implement today. We already have some of this done in terms of moving parts. The picture is missing, but already here, if I'm running the game, position this. So this interface will change to this. And I'm probably going to lay the player controls out more like this. This is okay too, but this is looking too sort of like upward. I'm hoping, by the way, yeah, we are still in debug mode here. Good. I'm hoping this blue symbol being here and this being here, it creates more, I don't know, there's something a bit more seamless, a bit more directionality, and this kind of moves this way. Since we don't get to see the other walls, these two are kind of like the opposite directions. And maybe later on we'll do the camera rotation. In later levels, not necessarily in the first 10 levels that I'm constructing for the demo, we may have game mechanics where the player might be trying to get rid of a hazardous material. This symbol will be, let's see, either on or off if there is a problem. Similarly, radioactivity might be a problem or not. And I think this is something I'll implement. In the 5th level, I think we have to pick up a pass guard. So this will be off by default, and then we'll turn it on. And this is, of course, prototype. Right now, it's as if we have 2 goals here. We don't in the first level, but as you collect or achieve the objectives, the old ones will be accomplished, like plus symbol, and the new ones will be introduced with sort of like empty checkbox, right? So that's the idea. So I'm just gonna start by just doing this simple reorganization of those controls. I believe they are in player controls right there, but the scene is in HUD. Player controls, let's go in 2D. So right now we have a 3x3 grid. So this has to be now 2. And this control should go. In fact, all the control, the blue one is west, I believe. Yeah, this should be coming second. Red is there and the green is there. Okay. Let's I believe I did 10 pixels separation. Looks good enough. Just run the game. Let's compare it to this. Close enough. I believe I messed with the sizes here too. It's 100 each. Yeah. Whereas here they are 256. Yeah. But then they don't look 256 here. That's because this is my test resolution. That would be under window test resolution. Yeah. So I'll fuss with that later on when we do the full screen launch of the game with proper maybe settings. Maybe that's going to be one of the settings in the main menu. Just the viewport size. So as usual, you're just dropping by, say hello. Anything you want, anything you want to say. Being social or being, considering to be civil and, say decent things, not malicious. Or if you don't feel like saying anything, that's so let's consider this done. And let's tackle this panel. Now, this panel and this panel are essentially the same thing. I believe at some point I messed up something in the old panel's 9 slice scale. Either way, that now has to change. It's just up. I think this is something that I messed up here. I think I know what messed up. I didn't mess up. I think Godot messed up. That's because this looks different. I'm using the latest beta. This structure here looks different. Yeah, we had some numbers going on, so this looks way different. Now I can either fix this to have this look like the old one, but since we are going to change it, we may as well just apply the new one. So I'll go to components. This is my view panel. I'm calling it disposition panel here, but it's essentially a generic panel. I called it here disposition, so I could actually design this part. Then I'm using it pretty much everywhere. I believe this scene is no longer needed for this page. Okay, we gotta export this. When I click the whole component, okay, I'm also looking at my cutoff point. So say we're gonna have to adjust the top margin, bottom margin, So these purple highlighted areas, they give me the kind of the proportion there. We have to do the same thing for the left and right margins too. So the left margin will have to come sort of come in as far as this line. We could use a ruler. So for now, what I'm going to do is export. Let's get a preview. This is the preview. Is this what I want? I think this is what I want. It kept the transparency too. The background color or sections inside this panel, they have transparency. It kept it. So let's export it. From this. I'm gonna call this panel. I'll try to put this in. I see there's already a panel with underscore, sorry, all lowercase. So I'm just going to rename my new panel lowercase too. Cut, paste, place. Now when I go in Godot, it will do its thing. This graphic is still the old one. Let's just go back. Disappointing. I updated it, and yet I still see the old one. Okay, let's restart the engine. I think this latest update from Godot was to update assets automatically. But I think they meant 3D assets. They didn't. And yet I still see the old one. Oh. Am I? Oh. I have the futuristic user interface as the texture assigned. Which means my old panel I'm a bit confused. I might have made a mistake. Go to GitHub, desktop, panel. So this is what I deleted. Okay, so I'm accepting this. I have to do the proper assignment here. This will also be deleted after I make this change. So the texture will be panel. Okay. And now I'm going to delete this guy. The files being removed are required by other resources in order for, such as what? Theme, I get it, but what's in this theme using that? Is button using it? No, because I did them flat. Flat, flat, flat. Is rich text label flat. Button. Panel. I think it's just not updating its references. That should not have any anything to do with the theme anymore. Let's try again. Okay, this is more like it. At least it's saying, are you sure you want to remove it? But there is no dependency constraint. So now the theme is using, or the themes panel is using the correct piece of texture. Let's open the HUD disposition UI so we get to see what we are doing here. So let's zoom in a bit. %. There is an extra color behind it because that's the solution that I introduced. Previous one, okay, because that actually had a lot of transparency. I wanted, I covered it with color red. Now, on to the adjustment. Let's see. Do I have ruler? I do have ruler. So say, I think I could do this. Can't I do this? Like say, let's assume this is the 0. Yes, I'll do math. It's fine. 855, which we already saw. It's nonsense. Let's come all the way down. 945, so it's 90 top. Okay, so let's go type that in. So I believe this is the old margins. They just labeled it as texture margins, but the values have also reset. This is not something we'll use. We may have to use content margins. So top 90. Okay. It's squeezed because it doesn't know the bottom constraint yet. So the bottom constraint is, so the way we can do this is, let's grab another one. Let's be generous. Say this is 110. What do you mean 110? Oh, when you do it that way, it's 110 from top. So it's sort of smart like that. I see. Okay. 110 subtracted from 206. 96. 96 from bottom. What if we make that 92? Going to be 115, which doesn't intersect with this. So let's do bottom 90 as well. Okay. Still looks awful, but maybe. This might be off because we took the values from the previous assignment. So if we do it this way, 337206. Okay, let's do left, right too, and then let's see. And this one is 120. If I do another 120, that would be 217, which is generous. Maybe $120 and 100. Okay, now everything is in their expected place. As long as you just adjust the cutoff points or the the margins, it's fine. So the beauty of this now is and do anything we want. So we did this. I have to now adjust the content margin because whatever text there will be inside the structure, and I should test that by putting a piece of text here as a dummy text label. Let's put some dumb text. This is what I mean. Just gonna come up to the. Instead, by the way, this is not the most accurate representation of this panel. Because as you can see, there is some extra thing going on between the gray, let's call it border, and this relatively darker green border. This is a stretched out and awful looking version of this in reality. So the reason why I'm saying that is because if you put a different kind of background, so we can see what's going on. I adjusted these borders so that the content area is actually this green part, but whitish, grayish borders are kind of part of the design. This looks stretched out, and I didn't have the patience to properly do the component. If I had done it, then let's see, this would have resulted in a much more accurate sizing, like the way we do it in Godot. I have an idea here. It's like, well, we are gonna have conversation, pictures, some text. That's gonna be relatively here, you know, in this area. Relatively speaking, everything will be kind of. So that's what we should do in Godot, meaning the content is actually going to be inside margin container, most likely. This, if it hasn't changed, this already has something. These values should be double checked. There's a VBox container here. Like already this is too much. I can't see. The margin container is just giving too much leeway. That's because the old graphic had a lot more lips around the content. So that has to change. So let's actually change that. One thing I'm gonna do is let's disable this. Let's take this label, put it inside margin container, and let's make you as large as we cannot make that. We actually can do it differently. Like this. Gotcha. So this has to approach the borders. That's the idea. And I think whatever value I pick will be the same across the board. So 20 is too low, 40 might be 30 for now. Now I said 30 because where we see the left side of the letter D is going to be either the text, sometimes, but most likely a picture like this. The picture has its own frame and border. Let me zoom in there so you can see. So this is you as an avatar. You have your own frame here too. So 20 that I just, or 30 that I defined is 30 from the left side of the panel, but that actually is going to give enough space. This is the space I'm talking about. So as far as the value goes, that is okay. Let's turn back the VBox container. Now in here, I thought I actually did the relay. You might be seeing more than one status messages. In fact, I just saw 3 in a row. Let me adjust the reply comments. This should have been on. Don't know. It goes off sometimes. I don't know why. But I also see some numbers in the stream. So rest assured as far as security goes, because sometimes some of you are concerned whether I'm seeing your names. I don't. I just see the number of viewers. So I will not know if you are watching. Sometimes friends come. They say, Oh, they were watching my stream, but I don't actually notice anyone. Name is never displayed. Unless you type in chat, of course. Then I'll get to see your nickname. So here, the top part could go two different ways. There is the scene description, status explanation text sometimes. But if it's a dialogue, then you'll get to see the let's say the person who is talking to you, like their picture. And this is what we'll do. So this text part already exists. So let's do the text part. In fact, I think it's already done. Let's just run it. That's what I'm talking about. So I think in the case of description, like simple description like this, I'm not going to bother with that's why I had the other page here without the picture. But I think it's simple enough to test it here. If I feel like this is too crowded, maybe I'll give a bit. In fact, I will actually do that. So maybe left and right should be 40. Okay, 35. Let's not be too drastic. That looks better. The reason why the left one needed a bit more, even though it should be all equal, that's because the text, the rendering is it's got something to do with how the fonts are rendered. So the top of the text, as far as our eyes go, this looks more balanced. It might change though, as soon as we pick this picture in here, then maybe we will want to have equal distance. Because now this picture is going to be 5 pixels in. Maybe it won't be a big deal. We'll see. Now, do I bother with the pictures at this point, or I think it would be nice to have this done. This piece of graphic. Let's see. What do we call this? We call this let's call this disposition divider. In fact, I'm going to pick a safer name. I think this already has a name. Age separator. Disposition age separator. Something like this. Okay. Let's export this. This looks okay to me. Export. Age separator, cut it from downloads folder, put it in textures folder. Here we are. File naming is abysmal. Some lowercase, some uppercase starting. That's fine. So age separator. So let's stick this in the theme as well, in case we need to do something extra later. By the way, I have a Udemy course that talks about how to create themes and how to style different parts of components. If that's the kind of thing you need. You could search it on Udemy, or I think I'll just type a command in chat. I just pasted the link in chat, so that might be helpful if you need it. So here we'll assign a piece of graphic. By default, it's using a box line, which is responsible for drawing a simple line. That's one of the 4 that's one of the 4 styles you can assign. Most of the time we bother with textures. This kind of separator uses a line style. Sometimes flat is useful. In the case of a button, I actually have a flat style, and empty just clears everything. So sometimes empty is useful too, but here we want our own texture. I guess this is a bug because it suddenly goes away. I remember things like this in version 3. They fixed it. Apparently it's come back. Okay, this is what we want to change. So this is the style box texture for edge separator. Texture is empty. Drag and drop. Here we go. I don't think we need to do anything at this point. Looks good enough already. If we have to, we'll come back. So let's run. So this is the divider. Should look like this. Now here the size is different. That's why we might have to do the margins. For example, this guy's width is 116. Let's assume it's 120. I don't really need to focus on this, but I kind of want to because I'm anal. Click this once is enough. Transform. Okay, by default, this is going to fill the space. It's going to take as much width as possible. Hence fill. But sometimes you don't want this to fill. You want this to be more like this. Right now, the picture and the text, let's assume it's grouped. Those two things, like as a structure, they occupy as much space as there is inside the panel. We don't want that for edge separator. Right now it's behaving like that. So we don't want you to fill. We want you to shrink center, but we do not know how big you are going to be. So let's put 120. Am I way off? Yeah, it should be 550. I was reading the X value, sorry, 550. Okay, so that's 550 and the height is 19. That actually didn't matter much because the graphics were already rendered, but at least now we know the bonding box. So I don't remember why I needed this. There was a graphical problem there. It wasn't rendering properly. I'll just reset it in case you know, don't customize if you don't need it. Okay, so now this is the perfect size width-wise. So once we put the pictures and such, or the text, everything will look more like this. The distance between this separator and the group for the picture and the text, that structure, I think that is either 10 or 15. Let's set that to maybe 15. Yeah, that's more like it. So picture time, I guess. So how do I deal with the pictures? So I'm gonna export something, but I will either export it from here or from Figma, because I already imported them into Figma from here. By the way, I think my mind... Oh, I see. This is the first level's text, I think. Here I'm loading different levels text because that's what I asked for, which is level 3 or 4, depending on how it goes. I think it's 4. It is 4. That's fine. So let's disable the load game functionality. Let's reset this to 1. Let's reload 1. And why did that happen? Because that didn't make sense. Oh, silly me. Yesterday I was taking a screenshot, and in this level screenshot, I didn't want the HUD to occupy. I just wanted to start out. Okay, HUD is back. Here we are. Okay, so that's the text. Now might be a good moment to do the scroll bar. Yeah, let's do the scroll bar too. I think I'll just type in extra text to force the scroll bar. But let's see. And then maybe I'll grab some tea after that, because I'm guessing this should be easy enough. So the scroll bar has, I think, 2 important parts. The scroll bar, and let's look. I know there are 5 parts, but I think 2 parts are important. There's the grabber and there's the scroll part. Those are the 2 things you gotta do for sure. You can get away with reassigning grabber as the highlight and pressed states, and also the focus could be the same as scroll. For scroll focus, it could be the same as scroll. So the scroll part is essentially this scrollable area, this line. Now that line is actually, I mean, it's a line, so it doesn't need to be a flat thing. Right now it's flat. It could be, sorry, actually it could be flat with some width, or it could be a line with some thickness, depending on how you... So here we already have a preview. So here's a scroll bar, the scroll bar. We also have that scroll bar used in other components. So we'll get to see what we are doing right away. As usual, I think that's a bug. Fix, hopefully. I remember weird things happening like this as soon as you make an assignment. Something else gain focus, so it's as if you, like, normally this this large view is going to be hidden when you click something else, right? That behavior is triggered when you interact with something here that kind of takes this focus away. But it's there. So what do you want to do? So normally it's flat, so I'm gonna go with line. Here we go again. Now we click. Okay, now it's here. But I wanna see it, damn it. Stay here. Now, of course, I'm seeing her. Okay. Maybe the game is running. I don't know. No. So an editor problem. I want to be able to click this, list the properties in inspector while having this screen open, which is crucial. Let's just take it back down like this. Okay. So screw it. What I'm gonna do is here's some disposition. I'm gonna type a massive amount of text here. None other than Lipsum. Or since I'm in the mood. What was it? Yeah. Can't remember the website's name. Samuel Jackson Lipsum. There used to be a different name for this. Yeah, there used to be a different website with this picture on it. And so. Anyway, some text. I expected to see scroll bar. So I could at least do this. Clip contents. I want you to clip contents because that's when you're gonna clip and show the. Okay, this is maddening. So let's disable this. Let's go to level 1 text. Let's assume we have double the text here. Let's put some space, a lot of space, so I know where. Getting extra content, let's run. So apparently we don't have full content here. Normally, rich text area creates its own. Scroll bar, unless I messed up with something. Scroll active, yeah. If true, the scroll bar is visible. Setting this to false, doesn't block scroll completely. See scroll to line. So yeah, did they? This was honestly working in previous version, one of the versions. And since they made a big change in beta 15, I can no longer open it in 14 and previous or prior. That's not fun. Because this comes with its own scroll thing. I don't want to wrap it inside another scroll container. I might, but and they will change it again. Let me see. I actually want this to occupy space. This is all fine. I shouldn't touch that. So this is. Let's do this. So the difference is Yeah, do it this way. So where is the content? I remember this playing a role at some point, but I also don't want to change the size of this component to fit the content. It's the opposite of what I want. Scroll active. So why are you not scrolling? Honestly, this was scrolling last time. Okay, if it scroll container to the rescue. Stick it inside here. Go in here. Your where is it? Sizing is fill expand and stretch ratio is 2. So let's apply that to this guy. Fill expand. So now I may have to remove the or at least enable this fit content height, because now I want the height to take as much space as possible, which is going to be limited by this guy. Now this being here, completely ignoring the horizontal fill. Let's fix that too. No luck. Oh. Before I go around and start blaming, people, clean your house first. Why? Because I just changed the scroll. Right? It's line and it's sort of like empty like. I should have seen the grabber, mind you. I'm just going to default this. Yeah, there you go. So, which still has problematic parts, mind you. Because I should have at least seen something, but whatever. Now I'm going to take this back. Go container, delete this. And here we did not change anything. I don't need to do this anymore because it's automatically expanding now. So let's run at least. Let's get to see scroll bar. There you go. Now I have to be a bit smart about this. Now, this is a bit of a different problem. It's as if the curve, it says curve parts, this grabber. Let me take a excuse me, screenshot. Just want to show something. This is a curved part. It's as if it's cut off. That's problematic. It's cut off. One pixel. I hope that won't be a problem when we apply our own texture. But now I know at least the problem is me not being able to assign a proper piece of graphic here. Now, can I please do this here? Now I can actually test it. properly. So I want you to begrudgingly create a flat. This go away again, come back. Okay. So here's the flat thingy. It's okay. This color has to be this. Is this. Let's add that to the swatches. Okay. Also, we could export this as grabber. Sometimes the vertical scroll bar in some UI designs, you need a separate grabber for vertical scroll bar and another grabber for the H scroll bar, because you know the look is different. But here, this is a square thing. If I ever need a horizontal scroll bar, I could repurpose this, so I'm not going to label this as V grabber, it's just grabber. Export, going to be simple. This could just be simple drop in there. So grabber will go into the grabber field. Let's go away. We need texture. Go away. It's very annoying, but so here's the grabber. Now this grabber is not positioned properly. It's actually the whole area is 15 by 15, and by that I mean the component is 15 pixels wide. The scroll area is 3 pixels, so that's something we'll adjust, but right now we gotta make sure that this component is at least 15 pixels. See, it's 15 by 15. So let me mess with the how was I doing that? Expand margins. So the problem with the way I'm approaching the scroll part, it tries to occupy the whole area as a flat graphic. This should change to line, which is then going to disappear. Now in here, the thickness should be 3 and vertical should be on. Now we are on the right track. The color will be picked from swatches, and the content margins will be, since this is 3 and the whole thing is 15, that leaves us 12 pixels, but we have to divide that in half because it's going to be 6 pixels from left. And I don't think you can do that with see, in the other options you have expand margin. Doesn't exist here. I can totally see the relay messages are ignored. I don't know. Even though I turned it on, I don't get it. This you might be receiving more than one message. Sorry about that. I don't know. Even though I just turned this on. I mean, I turned it on half an hour ago. Anyway, should have been on. Nevertheless, things like that happen. So grow begin. I think this is what they mean here. But this is from the top and the bottom. We don't want that. We want it from left and right. This is going to be somewhat useful for a different purpose. This has zero impact. No, you don't mess with this because we don't have content. It's a separate concept. What I might do, I might export this as 15 by 170 graphic. Yeah, because it doesn't have the same flexibility. We scroll. I think it'll make sense once I do it. I'll start with 3 by whatever 100. Because sometimes the options here, you don't have all these options available in other style box types, which is something that you need to do your work. Done. So instead of assigning a line, I'm going to assign it texture. The texture will be scroll. This, okay. Now that has to be adjusted properly. Now we still see the cutoff, the stupid thing. It's still like 1 pixel or a few pixels cut off. And I know that why, because this square grabber is cut off. Am I changing the right thing? I'm thinking. Yeah. But I don't want to expand it. Even though I don't have content. Push it from the right. This doesn't make any sense. They changed something here. Okay, so times like this is a good time to grab some tea, reflect on what's going on, and come back. So the music will be on, the stream is still going on, no break screen. I'll be back as soon as possible. Okay. Get down. So where are we? This. So I certainly don't want to introduce margins. Did I export the correct thing? Let me just check the dimensions. Yeah, it's 3 by 170. The fact that this looks so large is pissing me off. This doesn't look like 3 pixels. I know what 3 pixels is because this lower part here, I believe that's 3 pixels, if not 2. I believe that's 3, and this thing is 7. This is 7. So this blue structure here should look as thick as this guy. So let's go and look at the grabber part, because that looks off too. For that, we look here, grabber. Let's reset this. Okay. Now, we still see the cutoff problem. There are a lot of problems here. Let me zoom in here. There are a lot of problems, but at least they align. Now, you cannot have negative values. You can only have positive values, which will kind of stretch this out. This is useful when you want to have some text perfectly positioned, but you want the graphical parts to extend. And this is useful when you want to, we actually did that with the panel. Here's the panel. But you want the content to start off the edges. But when you get more practice, it makes more sense. Explaining it is a little bit... they seem to have changed something. Oh, okay, so this is left. Shouldn't have any impact because this doesn't have a content. But this is the stuff that I'm talking about. Sometimes you want to position this area so the content that goes in it is not affected by stretchiness. It's not going to have any impact here. Let me look at the panel. This is 0 because we are handling it with texture margins. And in fact, this should all be 0 too. Scroll bar. You are 15 by 15. This is gonna draw the texture, fine. Perhaps I do not want to horizontally stretch this. Don't stretch, but want it to tile either. Okay, 15 it is. They did something. How can I export this 15? It's taking that space. I'm gonna throw something behind it. Or I'm gonna temporarily disable this, but then I see the bounding box becomes this, so I want something like grabber. Copy paste grabber. This is the invisible background. The lengths we go to do simple stuff in life never amazes me. So we do this 0. Okay, that's gonna take as much room as this, and then this is gonna be 0 too. Now, without the grabber, you should take 15 by some space. So now I'm gonna call this body, because group 14 now has become the V scroll. That will actually have the export part, so you should be gone. You should be V scroll, export, fish from downloads folder, paste it into textures. Let's go to Godot, do your thing. You lost the texture, even though you still have the reference. There you go. Okay. No. It's more like it. You're still doing bizarre stuff. Stop. Okay, now this is looking okay from one point of view. It still looks awkward for a different reason. Proportion wise, this square's middle is perfectly aligned with the middle section of this vertical piece of graphic. The problem is this whole component is cut off in half. That's the fucking problem. But that's the problem that I was noticing anyway with the default, this thing here. Here, their graphic is narrower, so the cutoff doesn't look that awkward. If it's anything, it's 1 or 2 pixels. I mean, this whole thing is 5 pixels anyway, so ours is a lot wider. So why is this cut off is the question. The positioning is fine. This is when we may have to do like this, some kind of trick. So let's do 15, let's do 8. Problem though, yeah, see, without this, it's stretching and the graphic looks awful. I kind of want this, but don't stretch. Or now it's tiling. If I exaggerate this, it's gonna tile. I don't want that. I'll just do this. And then that means I gotta do the grabber part 8 as well, which is going to be top. Yeah, that's gonna look awkward. This is not a problem. Now I get to see the other, the left side of the tile, the second, like the tile's left side. So this is too much, perhaps. 7. In the butt. There you go. Okay. So are you telling me this looks different in the editor than at runtime? Just remove all this sense. Let's go to scroll. How was it, the scroll? Grabber. Remove this. This looks wrong. Run it. It's still 1 pixel cut off, but I can live with this. The reason why that's not happening is because I have do this. That's gonna go away. Do this. Still gonna go away. Do this one last time. Then assign this to this. Oh, fuck. Okay. This one and done. Now, when I scroll, the that should actually follow. I know it's scrolling because it's stopping. It's functional. If true, the window scrolls down to display new content automatically. That's when you append text, it moves it down like this. We don't want that. Like, there's no purpose for that. Not yet. For a different mechanic, maybe. I'm gonna default this to arbitrary. As usual. I mean, I've done this so many times, it never caused any problems. Surprisingly, right now the visuals here are okay too. Kinda confused. You know what I'm gonna do? This scroll bar will be enabled when we play the last level. So let's go to the game. Let's load level 10. We'll go to the outro text, which should be here. We're gonna access mainframe, and here is the scroll. Clearly, we can't scroll. The visual is not up. The grabber is all wrong. So what am I doing with the grabber? What is wrong? Grabber. It's a piece of graphic. The piece of graphic. This is such an easy thing to change. I'm going to default it. Here's the default look. Here's the highlighted also. Run. The base will be the same. Now let's change this back to 1 because the text is longer in the disposition. But see, even in the original one, this is not moving. So, and it's not really my mistake, is it? Let's default this too. Because I would expect this grabber to be at the bottom. Oh shit. It might be something I'm not doing. By the way, didn't I change this to... No, and then I reset everything. Okay, this isn't too hard to do either. I'm thinking of where I might have made a big mistake. Okay, the process will be the same, except I'm now confirming functionality wise this works. Okay, the reason why I'm not having any luck is because I don't think I'm accounting for... How can I explain that? Where's the grabber? So the grabber is 15 by 15. Let's just consider the height. That's the problematic part, right? That 15 pixel piece of texture is sliding over an area that is 170 pixels long. I'm not accounting for that. So I think that's my mistake. So let's start again. Of course it's going to be weird like that because this keeps disappearing. Stay fixed. Apparently it's broken. Texture. Hold it again. Well, maybe I can actually do it here now. Let me just do this once. So then I will handle it all here because I'm gonna need this. Okay, Now, close all this stuff. Okay, V scroll bar, styles, grabber, style box texture. This is going to be the same thing for this and this. User will have your own style box texture, will be the same thing as the focus. Now, the scroll, which we can preview here, will be V scroll, and the grabber body will be this. Okay. So far, so good. Now, I haven't touched the height stuff. And how do I do that? I think I feel a little bit confused about name changes. So this is still the old. I can't remember what they labeled this. But then everything else looks the same position-wise. So we always had this kind of margin followed by expand margin, and this was always at the bottom. So that has not changed. So $15 seems to be a magic number. Let's go with 15. Where do I apply 15? What am I trying to do? I'm trying to assume the grabber will have enough room, not like this. Let's do 15 here. Let's run this. Let's put a 15 for the bottom. $30, $140. Visual difference. There is. Yeah. So you are 140. Okay, so reset these two. This always looks weird to me. This acts like it's actually piling, even though it's stretch. I'm honestly thinking they really messed something here. is not making any sense at all. Something so simple. Unless I'm having some like terrible day here, like I'm forgetting something. This is like the fact that we see double here, that does not make any sense at all. We saw that behavior when it was tiling, even though at the very least this should stretch to say, hey, look, you're going to have another 15. What do? You stretch or you tile. But why do you see the behavior of tile in stretch mode? That does not make any sense. And this also is wrong because I'm kind of cutting off the graphic here. I'm just saying 15 pixels. This is also wrong. This is gonna sound weird, but kind of go to my own course. It's gonna continue. Oh, okay. I have to. Just sure. Landing preview. Which is the reason why I did not record my Udemy course using Godot 4 because it's a moving target. They change stuff. Once it's a release candidate or stable release, I will redo the Udemy course. For Godot 4, maybe I will keep the chapter titles for Godot 3 and maybe put a marker that's indicating it's different for Godot 4 version. The thing I'm looking for is comment. There you go. How do I watch my own course? I have the files. Let's go find the files. Which is chapter 7. Six. 6.4 is the comment. it's downloading from the OneDrive. Another 10-15 seconds, hopefully. I think in this one I'm tackling the scroll bar because there's a complex component which had a text field, a button, a scroll bar, that kind of thing. I do remember tackling this issue. Here we go. Okay, that's full rect. Exit it. So only in that I think I did the scroll bar. Still takes it. I think I did at least. This is what I'm doing, right? I'm changing the margin for the text. Okay, we scroll bar. Okay, we are doing it. This layout hasn't changed, I know. But I paused to look at something. So when we assign a texture for the grabber part, this used to be the layout. So we would only have margin, expand margin, and content margin would be shoved into style box group here, or category. They relabeled margin as texture margin. Now I know that. But this process has not changed. They also tucked this region rect under a new section. So we are gonna assign grabber as the texture, which changes this automatically. And I will most likely do the empties and drag and drop. Wall is going to be another texture. Nothing extraordinary so far. Yeah, and it just works. This is a rich text area which doesn't cut off weird parts, and everything is displayed fine in the scroll bar. There's a bit of distortion there. I probably mentioned that. Yeah, make sure. I just heard myself say distortion. Okay, run. So we come to the grabber. Up 8, 8. The reason why I did that is because but in my case, there is not even distortion. It just doesn't work. Forget about this. This is the grabber, the scroll part, And where am I changing this? In the margin itself. And we do this here. In fact, I know why, because we want to do the margin 8 for top and bottom, because by its nature, this grabber has curved part. You have to account for those curved part, just as I'm accounting for the content to be properly displayed in a panel so that the corners wouldn't stretch and the top bottom parts would horizontally stretch and the left and right would vertically stretch. It's that 9 slice thing. We do not need, I don't need that for the, oh, I think I know where I'm going wrong with this. I kind of confused myself. I think so. I'm treating this component as if it's V slider, not V scroll bar. It's as if I'm going to decide on the quantity of something. But in my mind, I did not want this to be stretched. But the nature of V scroll bar is the grabber will be resized. So it would kind of display how much scrollable content there is and where you are in reading the whole content. So that ratio is displayed as the kind of like the stretchiness of the grabber, which should then naturally stretch. So here then our margins are 1 pixel from all edges. So this was a weird experiment. So this should be just fine now. So since this is a copy, it's all 1 in the other ones. I don't think I mess with this, so let's test this. And still not working. Now that's really not my mistake anymore. There's something else, I suppose. What should have happened right now? Without this piece, we actually had some gray grabber here, stretching this much, right? So it was sort of like going up and down. It rolling a few lines, which means this grabber part should have been kind of like stretched like this much, which is not happening. This is when I restart. Never hurts. I'm not fixing it. Let's run again. But that, yeah, margin really fixes the piece of graphic because that's actually 8 pixels. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say anymore. We should have seen some reaction. It's in fact 2 pixels. Sure. No change at all. This again. We do not have content. Let's pretend we do. I mean, this is a perfectly adjusted. Okay, I'll leave it here. This is dumb. There's something very foul at play here. Let's just assume that scroll bar is visually working. It's functional. I'm using the scroll up and down. That is functional. And I'm just going to test the removal of the text to see if the scroll bar is appearing. Let's just go with that. Okay, so that's gone. I'm also going to take this text out, which really shouldn't have any impact. So moving on. So let's do number 2 or 1. Here I'll find viewports. Viewport it is. There you go. So I did the H divider or a separator, somewhat successful V scroll bar. You could try to do the image here. So the image part, I think maybe after that I will conclude to stream what happened to you. Oh, that's just a save file. I did a screenshot and I pasted in that new file. So if possible, I want to export this structure, which actually happens to be our panel. This is the same thing as the panel, kinda. But I'm only using the inside part anyway. And here, the inside part will be the dynamic part. There's actually a frame like this. That frame is not constructed here. This is just an image here. I actually took that from here. So here what I have to export is size-wise, this image is 180 and here it's a lot bigger. So I'm going to hide MR.E. Is that guy. I'm going to try to export these to group. and most likely I'll do proper sizing, which is 180. Sure. So this group's name is going to be what? Speaker frame. Speaker frame will be exported. So I'm going to choose this. Suddenly you become 181 pixels. Undo. Why are you doing that to me? That's because even though this is actually 53, 800. Try again. There you go. Because it was on subpixels, so during export, it's trying to snap it to proper pixels. So it added 1 pixel to each axis. So that's not where I want to export. I want to export documents. MR.E, textures, speaker frame. There you go. Do your thing, speaker frame. So sometimes here we will have, and that will most likely be inside HBox, which is going to be the disposition part. Now, normally disposition is as wide as the HBox. But when there's a picture, it should also be part of that HBox. Texture rect. Okay. This is speaker frame. I'll just call it speaker for now because that structure will change mostly. So you go to the left. Your HBox container will have as much vertical space as possible. Stretch ratio will be 2. And most likely this has to be adjusted again for... So now when speaker is empty, and when we run... Oh, I picked the wrong. This position should be as wide as... So when there is no speaker, it's business as usual. But when there is speaker, that speaker is who? That speaker is maybe Sophie. Sophie is going to be assigned to this area. She is awfully big. We do I did not set the okay, this is where it's gonna get interesting because here I set it to 180. I can't force that. I think in the end what I'm gonna do is there's a V-Box that's holding all this content. I'm gonna have to remove the separator. I'm gonna have this top structure to be top aligned by itself, this one bottom aligned, and this guy to take as much space as possible, but I will adjust top and the bottom content to look like everything fits perfectly, because when I stretch the content, it's not going to stretch the panel out. So instead of doing pixel perfect stuff, I'm going to tell the edge separator to occupy some vertical space, but its vertical stitchness will be centered, so it's going to be center aligned vertically anyway. And if half of what I said made any sense, then you should feel lucky. Either way, this is going to be 180. And you are not going to scale, you are going to be, and you, oh, they actually brought this new. Okay, there you go, fit width. So right away, I can actually see the problem because the Figma is kind of arbitrary. Even though Sophie's image is 600 by 600 and Mr.E's picture is 430, I'm forcing those pictures to scale to fit with, which is this. And this 180 actually is too much. And here, when I do this 160, it's fitting with. Kind of wanting this to I'm just trying something here. Say, if this goes down, is it going to... Okay, there you go. So that's how they... Okay, so I see. When it says fit height, you change the height to fit the width, to go with width. As usual, the naming convention is awkward, but mathematically this is what works out. So 140, this is going to change the height. So essentially this could be 0. Okay, now we have one variable. Or from a different point of view, they are trying to fit the height by keeping the aspect ratio as long as the width is 140. The different ways to interpret naming. Naming is always difficult. I get that. I get that. And this is the time when I was saying this margin container having 35 left is going to cause this kind of discrepancy. This is when you do this 30. Now the text is going to look awkward. Maybe we'll worry about that some other time. So right now, this picture being here is missing its frame. So but let's just see it work. Right? Here we go. It works. Now let's give this the usual 15. Let's run again. That's not bad. Yeah, the scroll bar through it. Okay. Now we kind of do the same thing for the bottom, which means we need a scroll HBox container as the parent for scroll container. So this will go in here. We will need speaker. I will most likely make that change soon. Speaker copy. Scroll container is going to take as much space as possible. Each box container will have 15 separation. There's something else missing. This is going to be 2. This is going to be expanding. And if possible, let's just reset this. That's not going to do much. But let's just reset it. This is also not going to do anything. This is sort of filling. Something we just did. In fact, we have to do this. Yes. This is coming from the other structure. Here, its position itself, this should be set. Vertical is going to be this. We do want this. And this is what I meant by picture. Part of this group, which is this. This now has to be bottom aligned. Well, it kind of is, but the picture is awkward. And you know what I'm saying is because of this gap here, right? Now, that's actually happening for one reason that is not so obvious. The picture itself is kind of weird. It is occupying space such as 140, but it creates this sort of space here. I do not know why. That's a good start. That will do. Okay. Now let's look at the whole thing. This is it. I still have not executed the plan that I had, which is the first group. Vertically, the expansion stretches to. So what this means is this. So as far as stretchiness goes, this is going to occupy 2 parts of the space. This is going to occupy 1 part of the space. And the bottom section will occupy 2 parts of the space. So that way I'm kind of dividing into 5 and they kind of that much space. Alternative scenario is we don't fill the vertical parts and I do shrink end for this one. Shrink begin for this one. And then this one is going to do shrink center and expand. So that way it actually takes as much space as possible, but the graphic will always be vertically centered. That's alternative scenario. We do not have to worry about that. Let's run this. So this is coming along quite nicely. I'm just gonna try number 10 at our level. And at some point I have to figure out how I'm going to conclude this stream because I have a meeting. Get ready. So we'll access the mainframe. And here's... Oh. Okay, that's something I worked on quite a while ago. I'm kind of surprised that's happening. But layout-wise, this is okay. So here we'll have the mainframe picture, and it's going to be us picture, which is going to be, let's just put that, because that's always going to be us. Speaker is going to be MR.E. That's us. I was just about to say, that picture does not look square. I'm right, it's 146. That is not correct. I mean, what the F? And even you are not that. Can't trust this guy. Let's work it out here because the stretchiness is really noticeable. I mean, I can do this, but let's do one thing. Hip size is horrible. When you ignore your size, big centered is going to be with height proportion. No change at all. That looks okay, but why are you introducing another 6 pixels? Oh, I think I know why. Okay, now this is actually taking into account how much space there is. Because of this. Let me just remove this whole thing. Copy properties, select Sophie, paste properties, except it has to be Sophie. Is 145. We are 146. So clearly there is some stuff going on. So I'm gonna go back to my original sort of plan. You can't trust this thing. Shrink, begin. This will need a minimum height. That's the problem though, right? Now we have to come and put some arbitrary size here. There you go, 140. At least this is satisfied. So do the same thing for MR.E, because we love him so dearly. And not enough. You have his picture displayed incorrectly. I believe this is gonna smarten up as soon as I do this. Shrink and expand, so you go there. This begin will not matter. And then this guy separator, I want you to shrink center but expand as much space as possible. This was plan B. It seems to be working fine and everything is tipped up. Now I have the flexibility to stay or both speakers to try something like this. And then this will be 44. It's as if it's actually assuming here the anchor point, it's growing this way, and then Sophie is growing from this direction to this direction, so that way I can tighten up the distance, which is now controlled by whatever there's room. Now the other issue, which I will discuss and then wrap up. For replies, let's go here. Now reply structure is kind of interesting. I have a button and I'm shoving some text inside that button. Now this actually worked just fine until now, because I don't think I I was constraining the width. How can I show you this? I need to change the flat part here. So here's the clever part with this button. This button, as usual, it takes some text from outside. Those are the replies that you can see and click. But we clear the text right away. Well, as soon as we transfer the text to the text components text property. So the beauty of this is I can have multiple line of text. When the text display is finished, I'm changing the button size to occupy as much height as the text is giving me. So this actually lets you have buttons with multiple lines of text. This actually worked just fine until now, because I'm putting that image which is doing the horizontal sort of squeezing. I think what is actually happening here is without the picture, which is where it's position UI. Let's just temporarily disable this picture. And we are still in level 10. Where are we? Level 10. Gotcha. So this was busy. Where's, oh shit. Yeah, this was the only thing that was giving proper height. Without that, there is no. Arbitrarily 150, some height, just arbitrarily. And I intentionally disable the flatness of the button. Here's a normal button. When you put some text, normally it would actually have text, but it would never, and as the text goes wider and wider, it will stretch the width of the button. I do not want that. I want the button to occupy this much width and the text go to the next line, and then the button's height should change to display the whole text. And by turning the button's flat property on, I'm kind of hiding the fact that this is an obvious button, right? So you kind of see the text there as a clickable thing. This works just fine. We play, and as you can see, it's a beautiful system. So this apparently works. Yeah, catch is, I believe, we set this, turn on this. Now the flatness is gone. We still see it. So okay, it works here. This is still multiple line of text, which is beautiful. Here, beautiful too. And now why all of a sudden we have like now that actually used to happen a lot more often, because I did not have this turned on, which is now turned on for all of them, and I'm surprised that it's still not working. This one. We want the text processing to be threaded, because otherwise all of them, as we can see, this actually worked fine. Oh, actually we see now it's screwing up because the height here is it's thinking that it's just too long, like it's going all the, like we don't really see the scroll because that's all that screw up. But I'm like scrolling all the way down, And now I'm gonna scroll up. Actually, it's still scrolling up, and it takes that long to go up. So here the height is like some 1,500 something, right? Because it cannot properly calculate its content height properly. Turning this on satisfies the correct height calculation. Okay, and this is the correct thing. Apparently, that gets screwed up. Let's restart. Did not like that. Okay. Apparently, there's still an issue here. But the height is correct, but uh, summarize the search done on this. Oh, okay. Yeah, I noticed the weird behavior when the width of the text is just around the edges. So, as I was looking at that scroll, like there wasn't much to scroll or any much, need for any kind of scroll. The word ship was in the next line. And now by turning on the fit content height, I think everything is working just fine. Okay, this is where I'm trying to load level 11 because it doesn't exist. That checks out. So going back to reply, we turn on the flat, launch the game. I need to access the mainframe no matter what. So this whole thing is a button, so that's beautiful. Click. Here's the button. Everything here is a button. I think it's a smart system that you get to display multi-line text, but it's still clickable. Because your other option would be with text, you do GUI input. You check if the input type is mouse button, which is doable. That's the worst case scenario, but it made sense to me. And this way, I'm also showing the button sound effect in the same scene here as part of the button. When button is pressed, we are playing this sound file. So, with that said, I think we've done some UI stuff. I have not touched triggering game events within JSON because, as usual, I want to address the core part first, and maybe during the week I'll actually get these done. And next Thursday, if I stream, most likely I will. By then, I will have done some of these buttons, maybe the objective part, and yeah, pretty much everything that I'm describing in the stream notes here. I'm hoping to get them done by next Thursday. Hopefully, I will have consecutive days where I could finally start tackling level design, movement, logic, or constraint, that kind of thing. So then we can tie in those elements to visual, like UI stuff. Like maybe, you achieve the level, signaling back, objective is reached, that kind of thing. Hey, waving. Yeah, I'm about to sign off. So I remember your name. So I hope you are doing okay. So hopefully I'll get to stay a bit longer next time, and we'll chat a bit. So with that said, I'm actually signing off. So have a nice evening, great weekend, and see you all next week.